BFOD squad, how are you? Hope all is well. Welcome back to Barrelful of Daryl, Season 2, Episode 7, Save On, where I have a habit of discussing music, movies, provide some mirth, and as well as some other funky ass shit. Yeah, fun stuff. So I want to give a shout out to my listeners in Shawnee, Kansas. You are continually the first to download my new episodes as they are released. Same goes for my listeners in Overland Park, Kansas, a place where I once lived. I'm just wondering, do I know you guys? If so, shoot me a text. Anybody out there that knows me, shoot me a text too. Hell, even if you don't know me, shoot me a text. Be happy to have it. Okay, so last week I gave you a mystery music lyric. When I'm watching my TV and a man comes on and tells me how white my shirts can be. Did you guys get that one? Well, that's from the song I Can't Get No Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones, which was also featured in the movie Apocalypse Now, which I shall soon discuss, but not today. Here's a mystery movie quote, which my daughter Megan will get instantly. We thought you was a toad. Okay. Maybe you guys, maybe all of you know that one. We thought you was a toad. Music time. How about a little bit of ZZ Top? Familiar? I know that most of my listeners are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, so I would imagine you do. But you young whippersnippers out there, here we go. Wow, this band, an American rock band formed in Houston, Texas in 1969. For 51 years, it consisted of vocalist, guitarist Billy Gibbons, bassist, vocalist Dusty Hill, and the drummer Frank Beard. And they really have a signature sound. This Gibbons, the lead guy, he's got pretty much good blues style. And Hill and Beard, their rhythm section is just amazing. They are well known for their live performances and their appearances. By that I mean their personal appearances. Gibbons and Hill wore matching outfits. They both had long beards, and I mean like down to their belly button long. And they both wore hats and sunglasses. Now, the drummer, Beard, in fact, had no beard. So in a sense, all three of the members have a beard. Now, they released 15 studio albums and 4 live ones, as well as 5 box sets and 4 video albums. Now, their first album, released in 1971, was titled ZZ Top's First Album, because they wanted everyone to know that there would be more to come. Clever. But this album, no hit songs. Now, their second album, Rio Grande Mud, was released in 1972, and that gave them their first charting single, titled Francine. But, and it's a big but, in 1973 they released Tres Hombres, which reached number 8 on the Billboard charts, and they became rock stars. Now, the song LaGrange became a hit, and it's written about the Chicken Ranch, a notorious brothel in LaGrange, Texas. Now, this is a great album, and I guess I got to call it my second favorite by ZZ. The first two songs alone make it worth listening to. The first, titled Waitin' for the Bus, is very catchy and well displays their unique sound. And it segues into the second song, Jesus Just Left Chicago. Man, I might have to drop these two on the playlist. In 1975, they released the album Fandango, with which the first side containing live recordings, and the second side had new studio songs. Now, this was also a high charting album and gave them another hit single, Tush. By the way, much of their lyrics are unapologetically misogynistic. Yeah. Some good looking girls in their videos, too. Now, perhaps my favorite album, it is my favorite album by them. They're released in 1979 called Duguelo, which in Spanish means slashing of the throat. My God, this one is a rocker. It gave them two hits, I Thank You and Cheap Sunglasses. But all of the songs are worthy, in my humble opinion. No skips. Especially, she loves my automobile. She don't love me, she loves my automobile. And the next song, I'm Bad, I'm Nationwide. Yeah. Me and my younger brother Dean would ride around the streets in Florida listening to this almost nonstop for a long time. Now, in 1981, they released the album El Loco, giving them two hits, Tube Snake Boogie and Pearl Necklace. Remember what I said about misogyny? I would say that these two songs are innuendo, but they are way beyond that. You can imagine. Now, the release of the album Eliminator in 1983 brought them a more pop-oriented sound, and it gave them 4 hits accordingly. Give Me All Your Lovin', Legs, Got Me Under Pressure, and Sharp Dressed Man. Now, they won 2 MTV Music Video Awards, and I distinctly remember these videos. In fact, in one of them, it might be Sharp Dressed Man, both Gibbons and Hill had their guitar and bass fixtured to them so that they would spin in circles, and they would do it simultaneously. It was very, very cool to watch. Now, these videos also featured a custom hot rod car known as the Eliminator Coupe. It's bright red with 2 Z's painted along the sides, and it now sits in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Yeah, cool. Now, they released the album Afterburner in 1985, which sold fewer copies than Eliminator, but it was their highest charting album and sold 5 million copies. Now, from 1990 to 2012, they released 6 more studio albums, but their popularity was waning. But they continued to tour and promote their albums. And in 2004, they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In 2018, the band won the Guinness World Record for the longest running active group with no lineup changes. But 3 years later, Dusty Hill died and was replaced by the band's longtime guitar tech, Elwood Francis, who continued to tour with the band. By the way, in 1997, they played at the 31st Super Bowl halftime show, along with the Blues Brothers and James Brown. Holy shit. Super Bowl halftimes were once really good and worth watching, you know? So, altogether, these guys sold over 50 million records and they made a big musical impact. So, take a walk on over to the playlist and give ZZ a listen. And now, a word from our sponsor. I'll be right back. Howdy, y'all. This is Robbie Ray Simpleton again. You know, the young entrepreneur in Scratch Ankle. Well, I have an update on the making of my squabbit. I got a female squirrel to mate with my male rabbit, but it just seems it ain't gonna happen. Now, my daddy took the rabbit and the squirrel so that Mama can cook dinner. Seeing that little experiment is over. Well, last week, my English teacher assigned us a book to read called Frankenstein. So far, I've only read the back cover, but that got me excited to read the rest of the book to learn how to reincarnate dead stuff. So hopefully soon I'll be back to work on my next invention. Bye for now. And we're back. Movie time. There's a movie called Beast, released in 2017. Written and directed by Michael Pierce, and it stars one of my favorite actresses, Jessie Buckley, as Moll, Moll. And it stars Johnny Flynn as Pascal. Now, the setting is present day on the island of Jersey. Until a few days ago, I was unaware that Jersey, it's a United Kingdom island in the English Channel, and it's actually closer to France than it is the UK. Blew my mind. I could write a book about what I don't know. Seriously. Now, the tagline for this movie is "Be careful what you unleash," which is quite apt. Now, the director, he once lived in Jersey, and the movie is loosely based on a real-life person dubbed the Beast of Jersey, who terrorized the islands in the 1960s and 70s. Okay, so Moll, played by Jessie, is a 27-year-old tour guide who lives with her bitch mother and helps take care of her father who has dementia. And the island community is on edge due to a string of unsolved rapes and murders of young women. At the start of the movie, Moll's birthday is being celebrated. And it was her sister hijacked the party by announcing her pregnancy. So Moll is very upset by this and leaves the party. And she goes to a nightclub. She meets a guy and they drink, have a good time, they dance all night. In the morning, they're walking along the beach and he begins to assault her. Just then, a poacher, Pascal, with a hunting rifle shows up and rescues her. He drives her home and they start a relationship. Now, Moll eventually tells him that in high school she stabbed a classmate with scissors in an act of self-defense, and she got expelled. And he sympathizes with her. Soon a fourth murder victim is discovered, and it's a girl who disappeared the night of Moll's birthday party while she was dancing. Now, the local police detective questions Moll about the night of her birthday party, and she lies and says she met Pascal at the nightclub and he was with her all night. Now, the detective warns her that Pascal was the main suspect in an earlier murder and that he, at the age of 18, was convicted of sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl. Later on, Maul confronts Pascal about this, and he gets uber angry. Then he tells her that it was consensual and the girl's family made up lies about him. And now they both tell each other that they love each other. Maul and Pascal, in love. So they attend a formal function at a local country club put on by Maul's parents. They're rich, and she's a bitch. By the way, nobody likes Pascal, and they openly despise him, especially the mother. Before leaving the club, oh, wait a minute. I think I might have left something out. Oh, I skipped right past it. So they're at this formal function. Everybody's, formal dress, except for Pascal. He's wearing black jeans. And he gets kicked out of this function. And before they leave, Maul stands up and makes a toast, thanking her family for all they have done for her and that she forgives them for it. Yeah. Her mother screams, "Get out!" And they both leave. But on their way out, Maul grabs a golf club, and with rage, she destroys a nearby green. So she ends up going to live with Pascal in his humble home in the woods. And one night, in the middle of the night, cops come and take her away for further interrogation about meeting Pascal on her birthday night. Now, Pascal was also taken away and detained for 3 days. But in the interrogation, Maul continues to lie and cover for Pascal. But now she's having doubts about doing it. Well, later on, the detective comes to her house and tells her they have caught the real murderer, an immigrant farmer. And she's kind of like, really? How do you know? And the detective says, well, we have clues. We have DNA. His DNA was on the girl. And Maul says, well, maybe they just went on a date and they hugged and kissed or something like that. But he says, no, we've got our man. So when Pascal returns home, he and Maul go out to celebrate at a beachfront restaurant. She asks Pascal if he had committed the murders and coaxes him by admitting that she had intentionally stabbed the schoolgirl as revenge for being bullied. Okay, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Here come some spoilers. Pascal admits to her that he was the rapist and murderer. And she tells him it's okay and they can accept each other because they are in love. While driving home down a country road, she asks Pascal for a kiss. So they both lean in, and in doing so, she unbuckles his seatbelt and jerks the steering wheel. The car rolls over and Pascal is ejected. And after coming to, Maul unfastens her seatbelt and crawls to where Pascal is laying. He's badly hurt, but he's still alive. So she crawls on top of him and strangles him to death. And he's pleading with her, don't do this, don't do it. We're the same. But she strangled him to death anyway. And the final scene shows her bloody face, just mad bloody face, staring into the camera. So apparently she's the beast. She's the titular character. Well, this it's not a great movie, but it is very good, and it's worth watching, especially for Jesse's acting. It is top notch, and the scenery is beautiful too. Currently streaming on Prime, Tubi, Plex, and a few others. Tell them Daryl sent you. Okay, word of the week. The word of the week is torque. Torque, torque. Now, in physics and mechanics, torque is the rotational correspondent of linear force. It's also referred to as the moment of force or simply the moment. Now, just as linear force is a push or pull applied to a body, a torque is basically a twist applied to an object with respect to a chosen axis. For example, driving a screw uses torque to force it into an object. The torque is applied by the screwdriver rotating around its axis to the drive on the head of the screw. Now, torque is represented mathematically by the Greek letter tau, and it is calculated by multiplying the force applied and the radial distance in which the force is applied. Okay? So you're applying a force. Let's say you got a wrench. You're applying a force at the end of the wrench to turn something about its axis. That's torque. Now the units are inch pounds or Newton meters. Let's say you have to tighten a bolt and you're using a wrench with a 5-inch long handle. And a torque of 100 inch-pounds is required. So with a 5-inch wrench, you need to apply a force with your hand of 20 pounds to the wrench. What if you have a 10-inch wrench? You would only need to apply 10 pounds of force because you got a 10-inch wrench. 10 times 10 is 100. 5 times 20 is 100. But you're exerting less force. Now, torque is typically applied to fasteners in critical situations, such as in aviation. An engineer will calculate the amount of torque to be applied to the fastener to ensure that it stays put and it's safe. Now, if the fastener is going to be exposed to vibration loads, like in a helicopter, then the torque needs to be such that the fastener is under a tensile load of 90% of its tensile strength. That's a lot of torque. But improper torque will cause that fastener to develop a surface crack due to the cyclic loading. And this surface crack will become a fatigue crack that progresses through the thickness of the bolt until the bolt fails because it can no longer sustain the load. Fatigue failure due to improper torque. Now, I've seen this happen several times back when I was doing failure analysis on aviation parts, and either an engineer failed to calculate the proper torque or the mechanic failed to properly apply it. Either way. By the way, torque is applied using a calibrated torque wrench in which the required torque can be set. Okay? You set the torque on this torque wrench, and when you're applying the load, all of a sudden it will click and it will stop. You've reached the desired torque. Also, a lawnmower blade has a required torque, as I learned a few days ago, hence this topic. Now, I don't have a torque wrench, and I refused to buy one just for a lawnmower blade, which I was changing. So I just tighten the shit out of it. Let it be. So here's a pro-life tip for you. If you have a bolt or a nut that's tough to crack, tough to loosen, use your longest wrench. Remember, Archimedes said, "Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world." Now, he also said, "You got to fight for your right to party." Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, everybody, did I overdo it on the mechanics of pork? Are you still with me? Joke of the week. I'll never forget my granddad's last words to me just before he died. "Are you still holding the ladder?" I liked it. So last week, the question of the week was 99.9999% of the human body, as well as other objects, is composed of empty space. That's a shit ton of empty space. And how the fuck is this possible? That was my question. Well, here's my answer. Your body, as well as everything else in this world, is composed of atoms. We all know that. Now, the nuclei of these atoms are around 100,000 times smaller than the atoms that they are housed in. So, if the nucleus was the size of a peanut, the atom would be the size of a baseball stadium. That's a lot of empty space. Now, if we lost all the dead space inside of our atoms, we would each be able to fit into a particle of dust. And the entire human species would fit into the volume of a sugar cube. So why do we feel solid? Why aren't we just falling apart? Well, technically, electrons are point sources, which means they have no volume. But they do have something called a wave function, occupying a nice chunk of the atom. And because quantum mechanics is weird as shit and confusing, the volumeless electron is somehow simultaneously everywhere in that chunk of space. That's a mind fuck, isn't it? You can reference sciencealert.com if you care to. New question of the week. What is the difference between a psychopath and a sociopath? What is the difference between a psychopath and a sociopath? And we'll discuss the answer to that next time. Thought of the week. Bees make honey by vomiting nectar. It's true. Read it on the internet. Yeah. So don't forget about the BFOD playlist hanging around out there. And just as a reminder, there is a new season 2 playlist, and I hope you are finding them using the links in the episode. Now, if you feel like contacting me, you can click on the send me a text button in the episode or directly at bfodpodcast@gmail.com. By the way, don't forget that you can contribute to this podcast. The episodes have an option to support the show. This is a great little feature in which you can send me a few bucks a month. It's not expected and it's not required. But if you feel like doing it, hey, I'm not going to stop you. So that's it for season 2 to episode 7. I hope you were entertained and I hope you were educated. A little bit. I had a good time putting it together, as usual. And I will talk to you in about a week. Everybody have a great week, okay? Bye for now.